Shaking hands with his favorite soccer player was a memorable experience for Percy. Bach, the father of Western music, is widely recognized as one of the most prominent musicians in history. Alicia added only a few spoonfuls of sugar when she was making the cake, so it is moderately sweet. Mr. and Mrs. Hudson plan to buy an apartment next year so that they won't need to rent one anymore. This B&B is most famous for its 10 luxuriously furnished rooms. The owner has decorated these rooms with brand-name beds and sofas. Emma kissed the baby boy tenderly on the forehead so as not to wake him up. Hit by an urgent economic crisis, Mr. Goot was obliged to sell the business that he had built up from nothing. The girl was about to cry, and as she spoke, her voice began to crack.
In winter, my lips always get really dry. Thus, I have to put lip balm on them or they will crack.
Karen, who was seriously burned, is getting progressively better by having continual medical treatment. You shouldn't have mocked the shy boy. It was really rude and inappropriate, and it wasn't funny at all. Vivian never laughed at any jokes. Therefore, she was ridiculed by some of her classmates for being too serious. The inventor denied copying the idea from someone else. He insisted that his invention was based on his original idea. When the fire alarm went off, the audience dashed out of the theater in terror immediately. Before going on stage, Oliver waited in the wings and practiced his lines. The victim had only a vague memory of the robbery. Aside from the color of the robber's jacket, she could remember nothing. Irene sang a love song, and she was accompanied on the guitar by Ron.
Mr. Keyes accompanied his wife to her high school class reunion. Both of them had a good time on that occasion.
The Vienna Philharmonic is the orchestra that performs at the Vienna New Year's concert every year on January 1st. The clever girl gave a quick answer to the teacher's question without even pausing to think.
There was a brief pause during the class when the professor stopped to drink some water.
Upon finding her missing child, Rose exploded into tears of happiness.
The police determined that the airplane had exploded because of some mechanical problems.
Alex's mother came to me and anxiously asked if I knew where he was. The talk show host can do great imitations of several celebrities, which always amuses his audiences. The music played at the rock concert was deafening. The people living nearby were kept awake until midnight. The audience found the clown's performance very amusing and gave him a big round of applause. Charlie Chaplin was a prominent comedian who starred in many silent movies. The following story tells us something important that happened to him and his mother in his childhood. I was born in London on April 16, 1889. According to Mother, my world was a happy one. Our circumstances were moderately comfortable. We rented an apartment with 3 tastefully furnished rooms. One of my early memories was that each night before Mother went to work, she would tenderly tuck me in. My lovely mother was a singer. Unfortunately, in her late 20s, she suffered from laryngitis, but she was obliged to keep working in order to support our family. Because of this condition, my mother's voice would crack or suddenly fade out in the middle of the performance. The audience would laugh and start booing. As her voice grew progressively worse, she could no longer rely on it. It was owing to her voice condition that I made my debut on the stage at the age of 5. If my mother hadn't had laryngitis, I wouldn't have begun my performing career at such an early age. One night, in preference to leaving me alone at home, Mother took me to the dirty, mean theater she worked at. It catered mostly to soldiers who needed no excuse to mock and ridicule whoever was performing on stage. There's no denying that for most performers, that theater was a place of terror. I remembered standing in the wings when Mother's voice cracked and went into a whisper again. The audience began to laugh and make fun of her. The whole thing was vague to me, and I did not quite understand what was going on. It was not until Mother stepped off the stage that the noise stopped. When she came backstage, she was very upset. The stage manager, who had seen me perform before, suggested that I go on in place of Mother. In chaos, he took me by the hand and led me onto the stage. After a few words of explanation to the audience, the manager left me on the stage alone. Then, accompanied by the orchestra, I started to sing. Halfway through my performance, a shower of money poured onto the stage. Immediately, I paused and announced that I would pick up the money first and sing afterward. This caused much laughter. The stage manager came out and helped me gather up the money. Fearing that he was going to keep the money, I conveyed this thought to the audience. This made them explode with laughter, especially when the manager walked off with the money, with me anxiously following him. Not until he handed all the money to Mother did I return to the stage and continue singing. After I felt more at home on stage, I began to talk to the audience, dance, and do several imitations. I even imitated Mother's voice cracking. The audience's reaction surprised me. There was laughter and cheers, followed by more money thrown onto the stage. When Mother came on the stage to carry me off, her presence drew deafening applause. That night was my first appearance on the stage, and Mother's last.